All right, guys, welcome to the sixth episode of Roofing Stories. This time we are joined by Alex Boerma. He has a roofing company in Florida. He impressed me before we started this episode by telling me that he does around 4 to 5 roofs a week. And he has a saying, which is people first, roofing second. He believes truly that people come first, and I believe he is going to be an interesting guest, especially because he says that his company specializes in having a great administrative structure, which many companies struggle with having systems and processes, and I believe that Alex will be able to help you a lot through this episode. So welcome to Roofing Stories, Alex. It's nice to have you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So, Alex, tell me more about the company. What do you guys do, and how do you manage to have 4 to 5 roofs a week? How's that going?
I mean, it's definitely a dream. I honestly didn't expect it to blow up as fast as it did. We're an exterior remodeling company, but we do happen to focus mainly bread and butter roofing and solar. So it seems to be a very hot ticket item in Florida, and I wasn't to say no. So we run roofing, and then we just happen to do a little bit of exterior remodeling, like if we wanted to build bell towers on top of a house, or if, windows, doors, siding, making things look aesthetically pleasing. We just got into fencing recently, but we do a lot more roofing than anything. And
Uh,
it's mainly from having a successful administrative setup. We do a lot of marketing, but 50% of our business is referral based. So it just seems to be the more business we bring in, it tends to extrapolate on top of itself. So that we went from 1 to 2 roofs a week to doing 3 to 5. And this year, next quarter, we're hoping to do, 8 to 10 and, end goal 15 roofs a week by the end of the year.
mhm. So, how much or how big revenue-wise is your company currently? What is that you make a year? How much did you make last year? If you're fine and
So
comfortable
last
saying that.
year, yeah. Last year was actually technically our first year, and we
Mhm.
did 1.5 million in sales. This year, we're trajectorying about 5, but with new implementations, our goal is 15 million, but we'll probably do 5 million this year.
5 million. I
Hmm.
actually talked to another roofing company, Trust Roofing from Florida. Maybe you know of them.
Hmm. Yep.
We had Robin as a guest, and he's been doing very well. 17
Yeah.
million a year, very, very impressive, right? So Florida, would you say is the best state for roofing? Is that true? Or it's just fake news in our marketing world?
Mm. So don't get me wrong. I mean, Florida is very, very competitive. I mean, it's one of the harder states to have a license with, but when you look at what you're doing, right, roofing, you're going to only have issues whether you use bad materials and over time it's got wear and tear, or it's probably going to be a storm. So Florida does have 3 to 5 storms a year. So trajectorying that, yes, you're going to have a lot of roofs that need to be done. I mean, we have a lot of homes just in the Pinellas County area alone, but I mean, Ohio, Texas, North Carolina, Louisiana, I mean, anywhere that's in this belt of storms, you're going to have great business. Now, it's becoming very saturated in Florida. It doesn't mean that business isn't booming, but you're going to have a lot of competition, which means you're going to have a lot of regulations. So, tending most policies and laws, they tend to go in after something's already happened. So, what you're seeing now is insurance companies are starting to kind of crack down on how they're paying. Usually, back in the day, you can have a field adjuster come out, look over storm damage, and they'd write a check on the spot. Now you have independent adjusters. So now that process is being sprawled out to 3 weeks to a month and a half. And next thing you know, maybe they'll pop ACV policies where it's like just cash value, where they'll pay 20% or 25% of the total cost, depending on what their premiums will be. So in that case, Florida would not be the determining market, where, like, say, Ohio, where there's tornadoes, they're still paying insurance bills out by like 2 weeks.
Understood, understood. So you would say Florida is getting a bit tougher for new people who are trying to get into roofing, and
For new people, yes. If you don't
wh-
know how the
yeah.
system works, it's going to be tough to get in.
So what would you considering that you're already 1 year in business and you're doing pretty well. 5 to 6 million after a year is quite impressive, right? Especially after the
Hmm.
first year. So, what
Yeah.
is your advice to new people getting into roofing? What would Alex Boerma, that was starting a roofing company a year ago and that currently does 5 to 6 roofs a week, tell to that Alex
Hmm.
Boerma then? What is the main advice you think would get you this progress, let's say 6 months in instead of a year?
Honestly, it would come down to interest, right? If your bread and butter is going to be insurance deals, that's one thing. If you're just cash, if you're financing, if you're using government programs, if you're trying to become preferred vendors, subcontract for others, whatever it is that your profession is or that you specialize in, I would say compound down on it. So make the decision, I do this. This is what I'm really good at. Okay, cool. Well, then now, how do you get that word out? So now, how do you let people know? Are you going to call them? Are you going to show up? Are you going to send ads out online, emails? There isn't really any special sauce, but as you can probably see in like marketing, you can get like a 2-3% return with online marketing. But if you're going door to door, it can be 1 out of 10 homes you talk to, or if you're using, yard signs, billboards. Your main thing is getting the word out, right? This is what we do. So just figuring that portion out and then just reverse engineering what your numbers are trying to do. Oh, I'm trying to do 1 million this year. Okay, well, how many roofs would that be? Okay, well, it's going to be 2 roofs a week, and I can do 1 mil. Okay, cool. How am I getting 2 in, and how many people do I need to talk to before I got a deal in? So, okay, well, I got to talk to 50 people usually before I've gotten a deal. Okay, well, your goal is 100 people you talk to a week. That's you're kind of breaking down your targets, and then you're just gonna shoot for it.
Mhm. So you believe that planning everything and having a plan and an idea how to spread the word about your company is extremely important for growth, right? Uh,
Yes. It's
so
almost like a brand recognition. You're building a brand, and the more that people see it, the more they can trust it. It's probably why Robin chose Trust Roofing. You can trust him to do your roof,
mhm,
and that's the
mhm,
brand, right? So when people
mhm,
see that, they go, "Oh, yeah, I should call them."
mhm. And what is your brand?
Next door exterior solutions. Well,
Mhm,
next
mhm.
door exteriors, but we kind of went off the philosophy that we're doing your neighbor's roof. So because
Like a good
50%
neighbor,
of our
State
business
Farm.
is referral, yeah, next door is they're doing next door exteriors, but that was kind of the idea. My main like bread and butter is neighborhood domination. So if I
Mhm.
get one lead in a neighborhood, it's not just one lead now, it's 50 leads because now I'm going to talk to every single person in that neighborhood and I'm going to name drop.
Yeah.
So even if I don't close that one lead that comes in, I'm going to talk to 50 other people, and odds are there's an issue there. So if I can kind of pinpoint what their issues are, whether it's the insurance company is dropping them, their premiums are too high, they have a leak, their insurance told them they have to replace their roof. These are going to be hot buttons, hot ticket items that I can pretty much push to every neighbor and probably get a deal in there. And then every person that I close, I'm asking for referrals. I'm saying, hey, how did we do? My saying is that we're in the business of people. We just happen to do roofing. And that's the truth because even though we do 5, 6 roofs a week, this is their first roof. Odds are, worst case, second roof if they've been in Florida for 15, 20 years. So this is all new to them. It could be straightforward for me, and I can almost forget that they've never been through this before. So if you can walk them through the process and really get them to understand the size of the project and what's being done, they're going to appreciate that. And after that, once you get them to sign off that they're happy and they love their product, you can usually get 3 more people's names out of them and you can start to reassure, like get references and referrals from them. So your
Mhm.
business tends to compound on top of that.
I see. So from what you are saying, it kind of feels to me like you are people expert. You know your way around the people, and you
Mhm.
are able to extract as much value from every interaction with every person, right? And this is
Yes.
something that you stride on and something you're proud of. So, what
Mhm.
is your top advice when it comes to customer relations? Many roofing companies that I saw have problems with those. Some people are rude or unprofessional or they have a bad day, right? So, how do
Yeah.
you navigate situations, and what is the perfect example that you have that happened to you that shows your expertise in people?
As far as an example, I'd probably have to give it a thought, but the first thought that came to mind as you're saying this is you're going to have issues if somebody tries to beat you down on price. Usually, a lot of people are going to have that sticker shock. Whoa, $20,000 for my roof? It got done 20 years ago for eight. You kind of have to explain to them why the pricing goes up, and you should know that as for yourself. The product's petroleum based. It's going to go up 10% a year just because it's petroleum. Supply and demand. The more storms that come through, the less likely you are to be on schedule. Price is going to go up. Inflation. I mean, there's many different reasons why something's going to go up, and you should know that already to be able to explain it. But your main thing when you're dealing with people is you're selling a value. Like when I'm going in and I'm going to sell a roof, I'm not just coming in and handing them a piece of paper saying $20,000. I'm breaking it down. I'm showing them value because it's not just a roof. I'm replacing vents. I'm replacing their underlayment. The drip edge around the entire house is being replaced. There's probably off ridge vents that now need to become, the top Cobra vents. There's a lot of things that we're doing. If they had a 3-tab before, we're putting architectural shingles on there. These may just as a roofer seem like your normal day-to-day things because they can be. But to a homeowner, that's extras. That's value. You don't have to necessarily charge more for it, but make sure you're letting the homeowner know the extra steps and value you're giving them. That's value. How much is that extra? Well, we're going to throw in a solar vent. This is a $1,500 value, but we like you. Here you go. We're going to give it to you. That goes a long way when you're getting referral basis because these homeowners, they see that, and that is a $1,500 value. Even though maybe if your cost is $500, $400, at retail value, that's $1,500. The same thing with peel and stick. If you're using peel and stick underlayment, that's like $50 extra a square, every 100 square feet. That's extra. If you're going to throw
Mhm.
that in there or you just do it flat out, don't forget to tell the homeowner that extra you're doing for them.
Mhm.
That's where
Yeah,
your
I mean,
value's built.
it's all about value stacking, right? You need
Mm-hmm.
to lead with value, right? That's what I tell
Mm-hmm.
people. If you lead with value, you'll never end up losing because if you provide the value at first, people who receive the value will feel indebted to you, uh,
Correct.
mentally, right?
Yeah.
For example, I like to repeat again. We all watch Alex Ramosi. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. But if you don't, I believe he's a really great marketing expert. And what he said is whenever he would go into a new room or a classroom, he would bring chewing gum, right? And he would provide chewing gum to everybody else, which
Yeah.
shows him as everybody is going to feel this debt because he gave them a chewing gum. He made this first step over the bridge. And
Mm-hmm.
you, by giving the free value to all these customers of yours, by showing them, okay, yes, I'm more expensive, but I'm providing you so many bonuses. I'm providing you different stuff that is going to cost you more in other company, right? And I believe that your method goes the long way. Even if you're losing, in profits, let's say, you are winning in referrals because you're essentially getting a new roof free of charge. And by having somebody vouching for you, especially their neighbor, I mean, it's a done deal, realistically.
Yeah.
So I truly understand now why you say that we are in business of people and you just happen to be
Mm-hmm.
in roofing because it's a very smart, if you learn how to sell, how to talk to people, how to convince them, there's no other skill you
Mm-hmm.
really need in life. From my understanding, of course, if you disagree, feel free to tell me. But
Yeah.
yeah,
No, it's true. I mean, if somebody trusts you, you got to think too. This isn't just like a bottle of lotion you're selling. Like, I mean, you're ripping 1/3 of that person's home off the top of their house. It's a big project, and you're talking 10, 15, $30,000, sometimes even $50,000. And this is numbers people don't necessarily think about when they're first buying their home. 15 years go by, or maybe 10 years go by, and now all of a sudden there's this, oh, I have to spend this much money. So there is a sense of empathy that you need to keep in mind when you're dealing with these people. It's every day for us. These numbers are being shot left and right in front of other roofers. But when you're first sitting down with a homeowner, if they haven't gotten another bid before you, you're in the hot seat because now you kind of have to be the one to explain why it's so expensive.
yeah, absolutely. So, what is the most expensive roof you sold so far in your roofing journey?
So far, 105,000.
Was it a
It's a tile
commercial?
job. Nope, just a
Commercial?
tile roof.
Just a tower of how big?
Uh, 56 squares, I think. 5,600 square feet.
Oh, that's a huge house, no?
Yeah.
Oh wow, that's impressive. So you do commercial or just residential?
I've tried commercial. The problem is there's a lot of people out there willing to do work for very cheap, and I've already found a niche dealing with government programs and insurance that I don't really need to do commercial. I mean, Carlton Arms had us doing a couple of apartment complexes for them, but at the end of the day, another roofer came in and wanted to do it pretty much near cost. I think they maybe would have made like 40 grand, but this would be a 6 month project. So for me, $40,000 over 6 months is not worth it. So obviously I said no, but it could be for some people. If your game is not sales and you're trying to just stay busy production wise, commercial can be great because you just have to come in, find out what exactly it would cost you to do it, and just kind of put your salary on top. And then you basically just become a project manager for these people as they get their roofs done. But for me, I just have to go out into a neighborhood with some of my canvassers and sales reps, and I can probably pull five, six deals in, probably close three of them, and there you go. There's my $40,000 right there.
Yeah, of course. Right. So something that you told me before we started the stream and that I asked you in private chat is
Hmm.
that you are most proud of your administrative structure. How does it look like, and why are you so proud of it? Why administrative structure? It's such a I don't think I would expect this answer from anybody else. They usually say a sales team, the way we do the work, but why administrative structure? Why do you think that's the
Well,
best in
I
your
love my
company?
sales guys. Don't get me wrong. I wouldn't really be here without my sales, but the administrative structure is what gives my salesmen the triumph. So for them to win, they have to have this already set up in place for them, or else it would just be chaos. They don't know where to start. I mean, you bring somebody on, they can have 10 years of sales experience, but if you just send them off into a neighborhood and you said, figure it out, it's going to be pretty tough. My administrative setup is from a lead prospect to approved and closed and invoiced. Like I have it all set up structurally throughout the process. I can keep track of everything financially done, any additionals that were given. I keep track of every single email or communication that's been done between the homeowners. I even have a backlog where I can send information and updates to the homeowner that they can just kind of check back and forth. The apps that we use, every one of my guys has an iPad, and they can keep track of everyone they've kept in touch with, and then it'll actually give them follow-up routines. So if 3 to 4 days they haven't heard from somebody that was considered a prospect, they would get notified, and then they can reach out either through email or call, and they can see right off the rip what was the last conversation that was had with that person. So with all of that, they get to hold a lot higher closing rate, and which makes their lives better and makes the company better. But it's the keeping track of everything and trying to keep order with chaos. Because if you have, I mean, even if we're doing five, six roofs a week, there's probably a couple hundred leads at a time that's there being talked with, and postcards being sent and follow-ups and remarketing with pixel codes on Facebook. Like there's all of these things being done on the back end that you got to keep track of.
Of course, that's for sure. So, what is your advice for people that want to set up such administrative structure? How they are going to create something similar to yours, and what is the strategy like? Do you have any advice for somebody who wants to make an
If
administrative structure
somebody was
like
going to
yours?
try to do it from scratch, get comfortable with Google spreadsheets. That's going to be the cheapest and easiest way. And you got to map out your product from start to finish, A to Z. What is it that you do, and what are the milestones? And then just make sure you're marking those down so that when you have homeowners you're working with or new leads that you have, just define it. You have to make sure that even in a spreadsheet, you're defining it what it is. These are leads. These are prospects. This is a homeowner that's approved. This is shingle roofs. These are metal roofs. And you're defining them down to a spreadsheet so that if somebody random just was to come in and click on it, they can see what's happening and it makes sense. Color coordinations, whatever you got to do. That's going to be the cheapest route. Otherwise, you can find software out there. Salesforce, Go High Level, I think, is another one. You can pay
That's a good one.
monthly for, yeah. There's these different softwares you can pay monthly for that can help you stay organized. But if you're feeling like confusion or chaos, your best thing to do is to start putting organization in. Just find one thing at a time, start organizing, and then that way you can look at it and just off the rip, you know where you're at.
Mhm. Okay, so besides, let's go back to, I guess, marketing and these sort of things, because I truly believe that marketing, is extremely important for every company. And what I warn every single roofer that I meet and talk to, you don't need to go with my company, but us people, as we go older and go into bracket of being 30 or 40, and will need or look for roofs and be the owners of the houses, we'll be searching for roofing companies online, in my opinion. Again, you can tell me if I'm wrong, but
Yeah.
do you agree that essentially, if you want to survive in the next 10, 15, 20 years, you will need to have online presence? Do you think it's a must, or do you think it's overhyped thing by marketers to force people into buying their services?
I believe it's subjective. There's no real right or wrong answer to that. Everyone's going to tell you something different. Some people hate door knocking. Some people love it. Some people swear by Facebook marketing. Some people hate it. The truth is it just, you can't have all your eggs in one basket. That's the thing. If you're relying on one source of marketing, you're going to have a hard time because then you're just susceptible to whatever that brings you. For me, my successful actions, yes, I can say that marketing online, like if I can send postcards to an area where a storm got hit and I can geo market that area, and then I can have pixel codes connected to my postcards where there's remarketing on Facebook happening, Google, if they're on a weather channel, our ad is there. There will be people that reach out. But one of my more successful actions is to find those neighborhoods that have been susceptible to these damages or being dropped, and then my sales force goes in and will just clean up shop. And it's kind of like a funneling effect. There's people that call in and they're like, yes, I need a roof, how much? Then there's people that were, oh well, I don't know if I have those funds, maybe in 3 months. And then there's these people that you can kind of keep track with and funnel. But once somebody goes to their door and they're like, hey, we saw that you had this quote from us 2 months ago and you never closed it. Just wanted to check in because we're working with Sally across the way and your name popped up and I just wanted to say hi and see what you thought. Once you got that face to face, it's just night and day difference. And you can find out the real reason they didn't do it. They can say, oh well, we're actually waiting off to save up for a metal roof, or oh well, actually we heard of this other program that's going to pay for it, or we're going to sell a house. Whatever their reason or rebuttal comes to be, you can find out fairly effectively. But you need
Mhm.
to be able to follow up, and you need to have that funnel from online to in person,
Yeah,
specifically
absolutely.
with projects this size.
Honestly, Alex, so far, I think you are the most knowledgeable person when it comes to marketing that we had on the show. It's truly impressive that you utilize some of the systems that we offer in our company, such as calling leads, following up with the leads, that kind of stuff. I've noticed that most of the companies, even if they utilize online marketing, if they miss a lead, they don't bother calling it again. They don't follow up. They don't double dial. And then they're like, oh, but you guys wasted $3,000 of my money. Where are my leads? Of course, yes. We can generate
Follow
them,
up.
but you need to follow up. You need to utilize, like, every lead has some sort of intent, but it's your job to bring that intent to close. So, it, marketing cannot get you all the deals, because then we would open our own company, right? So it needs to be a combination of efforts together to make something work, right? And many people think
From my
that if
opinion,
you,
marketing is a clean sweep. You're using marketing to sweep up, but it's up to you to be able to pick up and close the people individually. And that's where sales comes in. You can have marketing, but if you don't have a sales division to close these leads, it's a double-edged sword. You got to have both. So yeah, I agree with you, but I think was it Google, there was like something where it's like 80% of leads can close from follow up. Like it's from 5 to 6 touches. Like you have to talk to them 5 to 6, maybe 8 times before they close. And it was like
Yep.
80% per Google's analytics. So yeah, if you're not
Yep.
following up, you're not even giving yourself a real try.
Yeah. So we have this slide in our presentation when we try to sell our services to others, and we
Hmm.
said it takes 8 to 12 touch points for to
Hmm.
close the sale, especially in
Yeah.
roofing, right? Follow up is so important, and many people are like, "Oh yes, I called this Google lead that you guys generated, but he didn't answer." Okay, yes, of course he didn't answer because you didn't call him within 5 minutes, but keep following up with them. You never
Hmm.
know their situation. Maybe their kid got sick. Maybe they're eating. Maybe they are
Hmm.
out in the yard. That's the thing that many people forget. People fill in the form and then they go with their lives. Of course,
Yeah,
unless it's urgent. If it's urgent, then if you don't answer within 5 minutes, then your competitor probably is. So whoever calls first gets the job usually, unless they call. Um,
yeah. From my experience, I'm sure everyone will be different. I mean, I've used Angie's Home Advisors, Roofing Calculator, I've used a lot of these programs and softwares. The thing that I notice is people don't answer with after 5 minutes because their phone's probably still going off. They get bombarded with 6, 8, 10 phone calls. So usually calling again and within 24 hours is good once it's settled down. But showing up, if you have the capability to show up, way better. Just show up, say, hey, I saw you went online and you inquired. We're actually working in the neighborhood. So I wanted to just stop by face to face, see if I can help answer any questions.
that is a extremely good strategy, especially if you are working in a smaller area, right? Maybe it's not
Hmm.
possible for huge cities like I guess Denver because there's like
Yeah,
100 miles to pass it. But if you're working in a smaller area and the place is like 5 miles away from the office, just go in person. See with
absolutely.
their neighbors if they're not home, or if they're home, just knock and say, "Oh, you just filled in the form with my company. How can we help?" And they will
Yeah.
appreciate it because it shows that you
Oh,
are
yeah.
willing to expand and spend your time and be there right away. And it's
Yeah.
very likely going to end up as a close if they are very high intent.
Oh,
Either
yeah.
way, you're
I
getting an
know most people
inspection.
are probably scared if they're like, oh, well, if I show up, what if they slam the door in my face? What if they're angry? But the truth is they reached out to you. If you already know their name and you're showing up because they put an inquiry in, they're actually more relieved, if not thankful that you showed up. Because right now they got Chuck in a truck blowing them up, trying to give them a quote, but you're there right there to answer a question. They actually appreciate it more.
Yep, yep. So that is very important, the customer support aspect, as you say. People
Hmm.
want to be so if somebody gives you 20 to 30,000, which is on average I guess a minimum salary in United States, uh during a year time, like a minimum 30 to $40,000 a year. If somebody's willing to give you a yearly salary for a roof, then you should respect them, right? Because roofing is a high tier item. You need to put them at the first place. And if you
Hmm.
do that, you'll easily close the sale, right? Many
Yeah.
people just, I had people who I worked for and they would offer some guarantees and stuff. And when people call them about the guarantee, they don't answer. So what do you expect the reputation is going to be? And then I really kind of stopped working with them because I don't want to be involved into somebody who doesn't keep their promises. Because if they don't keep a promise to their customer, then how they'll keep promise to me? So I truly believe that customer relations are very, very important because one bad review can screw your entire company over.
It could. It could. Yeah. You want to definitely make sure you're following up A to Z and even follow up. I mean, a really good thing I learned actually from realtors is you can get postcards made every Christmas or like during the holidays, and everyone that you've ever spoken with or done a roof for, just send out a team postcard like, hey, like thinking about you. I hope you have a great holiday. That kind of stuff goes a long way. And
Yep.
you'd be surprised if you have a list, like whether you did their roof or not, you've worked with them, they know who you are. If they receive a postcard, they're actually that much more likely to refer you at that moment than they did
Yep.
ever before. It's
Absolutely.
kind of like a
So,
Chinese menu in a drawer. They may not need you
mhm.
right now, but in 3, 4 months when they're thinking about somebody, you're already fresher in their mind.
Yep, absolutely. So a friend of mine, whenever somebody signs with his marketing company, he works with retailers, and what he
Hmm.
does, whenever somebody signs, he sends them some merch right away, and he sends them
Hmm.
gifts. And
Yep.
that way, you are buying the favors. Again, we spoke about chewing gum. By
Yep.
sending stuff, yes, it is extremely nice thing to do, but you're also buying yourself time and favors, right? If service is going bad, but you show that you actually care about them by sending stuff, by extending the hand, then you buy yourself a lot more time, and you buy a
Yep.
lot more money, right?
Hmm.
Postcard idea is extremely good idea, and I think many people should utilize it because it shows
Yeah.
that you
I
are.
mean, how much you spend on marketing already? What's a couple extra $100, you know?
Mhm, mhm. So, how do you currently generate leads besides referrals and dominating neighborhoods? How do you currently get the jobs besides those
So right
ways?
now, well, so we're dominating a couple of neighborhoods right now. When we're starting to slow down, we'll pretty much go. I can put on Facebook or Google. I'll put out specials, things we're willing to do, or call to actions that may be towards like a storm or like let's say a Florida government grant or something that somebody can qualify for. Veteran 15% discounts. I'll find some kind of call to action and I go on Facebook and Google and we'll pretty much spaz those out. And then once we get a hit or two, we'll go and close them. And then what we do is from that close, we will circle around that neighborhood and basically go door to door and just introduce ourselves, let them know we're doing this person's roof and this is what they got. So once we do that, I mean, we try to close 20 to 30% of a neighborhood.
Mhm. All right, right. So you do your marketing on your own, or you have somebody on your own?
Yep. I used to do marketing for companies. So I have a
Mhm,
pretty big
mhm.
background with marketing.
Where did you work for? Who did you work for? My bad.
So I worked for some pretty big roofing companies like Angie's Roofing,
Hmm.
HD Roofing. I've worked for, smaller companies, like, regular marketing companies that were local. And then, I did business development for random companies here and there.
Hmm.
So not sure if they want me to say names, but I basically just helped people with marketing back in the day. That was
Hmm.
just like a little side hustle that I had.
Oh wow, that's impressive, right?
Hmm.
I also have some marketing background. I worked for like Sony, Axel Springler in Germany and
Okay,
stuff
cool.
like those. So I also have some marketing experience, but I see so many people lately opening marketing agencies with zero
Oh, yeah.
experience and then charging high prices without having any background experience. Like, how do you? I mean, look, everybody needs to make money, right? But you cannot go inside there and have zero background and go in and charge like $3,000, $2,000. Like, this doesn't work. You didn't
Yeah,
get
it's
where you
it's
are
a
at.
it's a hot seat, man. Marketing people like if somebody said like you could convince anyone to give you $10,000 if that means that they're going to make 100, right? There's a sense of ROI there, and that's kind of what I think they're playing on. Is there's a lot of people that get kind of stuck, like oh no, like where's my next job going to come from, or whoa, how am I going to keep this business rolling, let alone doing 1 million or 2 million? Like how am I going to get my next 5 jobs? And I think, unfortunately, there are some companies out there that will kind of push that hot button and just kind of tell them, oh, well, for $3,000 or $5,000, we'll get you 100 leads. And then in their mind, they go, well, if I got 100 leads, I would just have to close 10 of them to make it worth the 3,000, and that's kind of the button they play on. And I think that would be the issue because then where do those leads come from?
Yeah, I mean, I really hate promising stuff, especially in marketing. I rather,
Yeah.
so I always kind of tell people lately, I used to promise 10 roofing jobs when I was starting out. And then I realized how hard it is to get 10 roofing jobs when starting
Yeah.
off, right? As you know, we need to have this AI machine learn about our customer before it starts producing more and more. Once it learns enough, once conversion goes through multiple times, right?
Hmm.
So then I realized how stupid I was, and then I changed the entire selling call. I didn't promise anything, right? Yes, I
Hmm.
will generate jobs, and I will do my best to do so, but I don't want to guarantee anything, you know.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah,
process. It
guaranteeing
takes
could be
time.
kind of tough.
Yeah, I rather, as I said, I rather under promise and over deliver than over promise and under deliver. So, what is
Yeah.
your biggest, considering that we are both in the marketing space and you are in the roofing space as well? What is you again? Goes for marketing people who are in the roofing space. What
Mhm.
is the normal price you think somebody should charge for their services when doing marketing for a roofing company? Let's say if they do Google ads for them.
I'll tell you mine. I don't know. That's up to anyone. They can have their own considerations
Mhm.
on what is fair and not fair, what they're trying to do, what their overhead costs are. Me, I'm willing to spend 10 to 15% of my gross revenue on marketing. So
Okay.
if I'm going to do $1 million, I'm willing to spend 100 to $150,000 in marketing. Red Bull and
Right.
people like that, they have like crazy 40, 50%, cases of revenue that they spend on marketing. But for me, if a program or software or something that you're using to generate leads is costing more than 15 or 20% of your gross income, it's probably time to figure some other routes out. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Try 4 or 5 things out and then idolize and specialize in those things that are working better for you. And then when you can kind of see 4 or 5 different avenues of marketing, pinpoint the one that's the most successful and double down on it.
Of
That's
course,
what I
yeah,
would do.
that's smart. And regarding the service fees, let's say if you were instead of having a roofing company right now, you decided to have a marketing company for roofers. How much would you
Hmm.
charge for your knowledge for your service at this time?
Huh. Never been asked that before. I know that I pay salesmen 10% of the gross. So if I could get somebody, yeah, that's a tough one. I don't know if it's something that I've ever really thought about. I would probably, each lead would have to be worth something. So it would either have to be a structure where you work hands on with somebody and it's a monthly basis, or you create a funneling system that just generates leads in general, and then you just sell the leads at pop, $100, $150,
Mhm,
and you can sell bundles maybe, hey, I'll give you 10 leads for $800 or something.
mhm, mhm,
Then that's a little bit more workable for roofers because they may have a certain set number that they have available, but they're not going to want to just give you $3,000 in the sense that maybe they'll get some deals in, right? They would have to see something first. So if you're coming in, I would probably sell leads if I can guarantee that it was a lead, not that it's a close, but a person in need of a roof. I would probably charge $150 if it was one person. And then I would probably, if they were willing to share them between other roofers, $80 and then send it to 2 or 3 other roofers since they're getting 3 bids anyway.
mhm. And if you had to charge them retainers, because I know many top companies work with retainers. For example, I heard, I don't know, also before anybody tells me that I'm spreading misinformation, I heard that Hook Agency charges $10,000 a month, and there are some other companies such as Scorpion and Roofer Marketers charging somewhere between $2,000 and $5,000 a month. What do you think about that model? Do you think that pricing is too much or too little? And for example, there is us, so I'll be open. We ask for $3,000 a month, but we combine
Mm-hmm.
Google Ads, AI, so chatbot technology, where you teach the AI how to do everything right. Pretty much, we load your website on the AI bot. We teach him how to behave. We obviously make it sound human as possible because you are. I mean, you can train the bot to make it sound properly. And we have the call center that calls the leads. So we charge for that $3,000 a month. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
what do you think about these pricings that I named? And about our pricing and something like that because you have the marketing experience and you are a roofer. So I truly believe
Yeah.
that would be beneficial for my marketing folks out there, right? And people who are looking for marketing services, right? And somebody who is
For
expert in
me,
it should tell you that.
I know people that spend 500 to 1,000 a month in marketing, and I know some companies that are spending 60,000 a month in marketing.
Hmm.
The biggest thing that matters it's the ROI. if they're spending $60,000 in marketing, you best be pulling in like $600,000 a month in revenue, right? But I know that this specific company I mentioned has a 48% close rate. So even though they get about 400 leads, they're closing about 180 to 200 of them. So for them to spend $60,000, it makes sense. They can do that. But
Mm-hmm.
some people, they can't. If they're going to spend $3,000 a month, it would probably want to generate $30,000 in revenue to make sense, in my
Mm-hmm.
mind.
Right, right. So, if you had to pick a perfect price for somebody that is offering marketing services, what would it be? What number when it comes to a retainer, let's say?
Oh, I don't know. It's really not my
Mm-hmm.
zone. I would have to kind of play with it and see what works and doesn't work. All I know from my side is marketing. I'm willing to spend 10 to 15%. So if
Mm-hmm.
something is bringing me, I don't know, 10 or $15,000 in profit, I'm willing to spend $1,500 on that to make that. So it would probably
Understood.
be something on the similar. If you know for a fact that you're bringing in 100 leads, then 3,000 is too cheap. And honestly, I would go for more, charge per lead, or something where it's manageable and trackable. Because then you get those points where 100 leads come in, and a person may go, "Well, shit, I only closed 5 deals." Too much to where they don't even know they have 100 because they're not ready for it. They don't know, and it's too much. They have one guy that's supposed to run these leads, and he can only run 3 a day. So it really depends. Each roofer is going to be different. It depends on the infrastructure that they have. If they have the men available, you know, by all means, fill them up. But
Yeah,
if they're a smaller, son and father company and they're doing one roof a week and that's good for them, I mean, they should probably be spending 300 to 400 a month in marketing, and that'll do it for them. But they
yeah,
got to know what their market and their product is.
understood. Yeah. Okay, great. I think we have covered most of the topics. But is there anything you would like to talk about? Uh, Something that we missed. What is something that you think we missed in this show that we didn't talk about?
It's a great question. I don't know. So far we've covered
Yeah.
people, marketing, sales. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's
Okay.
pretty much it.
So
I mean,
right, of course. So I have this thing that I stole from if you watch it like the Diaries of the CEO. There's a podcast called that way, and what he
Mhm.
does, he asks the previous guest to ask the question for the next guest. So first, I'll ask you the question from the previous guest, which was from All or Nothing Construction. Willem Campbell, maybe you know him, maybe you don't, but he said,
Yeah. Mhm.
"How did you get where you are now?" That is the question. What did you do to get where you are now? It's a bit
Interesting.
longer question, but I'll leave it up to you to decide how you are going to format it.
I'll be candid. I basically worked for multiple companies, and I learned a little bit from each company and what was successful for them, and I made my own twist. You don't really have to reinvent the wheel. It's not like I didn't invent roofing. Roofing has been around forever, but I found a niche within the industry for myself by working for big companies and seeing what their successful actions were, and then just compounding those into my own successful actions. So for me, how I got here is I worked for 4 roofing companies over a couple of years, found out what was successful and not from them, and then I just replicated it on my own company.
Of course, of course. So,
Hmm.
what would you be your question for the next guest, which is going to be next in here in 5 minutes? So we have two episodes back to back, and this person, he has a technology, revolutionary technology in roofing that makes coating jobs 10 times faster. So I guess that's a tip on you to ask a great question for this for the next person. What would be the question for him?
Me, I'm big on policies. I think that you need policies and you need to initiate them right when a mistake happens. So maybe my question for him would be, what was What was a rememberable mistake that happened to him, and what did he do to fix it?
Of course, sounds great. Okay, Alex, I think we covered most of the stuff. The podcast will be live on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. We'll be live on YouTube as well. Alexic Roofing Marketing, where I post everything about podcasts, roofing in general. And you'll be also getting short clips if you wish to use it for your own promotion. And if
Sweet.
not, that's fine. So hopefully you enjoyed the episode, and hopefully you liked it here. And
Absolutely. No, thanks for having me.
yeah,
I was happy to be here.
of course. Thank you so much, and we should maybe run it back in the future. Thank you.
Absolutely. Just let me know.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.